Hurricane watches are now in effect for portions of Texas and Mexico, as Beryl now has its sights set on that area. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi everyone, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. Great to see you on this Friday afternoon. I hope you're doing well. Coming up, we're talking about a very active day across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, and obviously all the newest information on Beryl. We'll look at the landfall it made this morning in the Yucatan, and then the forecast for the impacts of portions of the western Gulf Coast as we get into the late part of the weekend and early in the week. So let's start this video off with what Beryl has been doing today. And again, it had another landfall here in the Yucatan near Tulum, Playa del Carmen, and Cozumel. We're getting reports of some beach erosion. We had some power issues. We obviously had some storm surge and some wind damage, but in general, we held out pretty well in this area. Want to hear from our friends who live in those areas that were affected? Drop it in the comment section below. Please let us know how you're doing. Beryl at the hour is trying to emerge, kind of sneaking off of the north coast of the Yucatan. There's still been some pretty good breeze here, near tropical storm strength over the last couple of hours. And again, Beryl is trying to emerge to the north. If we take a look at the water vapor imagery, obviously it has been impacted by the land interaction, the friction all day long. Beryl is now a tropical storm with winds of 65 miles an hour, but it's also sneaking a little bit farther north quicker, which means it's not going to stay over land for as long, and the low level center is in general intact. So as Beryl gets back out into the open waters, that's why we have this strengthening again. It could be strengthening relatively quickly, especially for landfall as we get closer to the Texas coast. Now, Merida here has had some pretty gusty winds, and that's where we find some viewer pictures and videos. This is from Tim Goss earlier in the day as Beryl was beginning to come in. Just look at all the striations, the instability in the atmosphere here, the lowering. This is the kind of atmosphere where you can get that water spout, that quick spin up tornado. Then this is a video that Tim took, and again, one of the first feeder bands moving in. I call those SLCs, those scary looking clouds, really dark low cloud bases there. Very heavy rain and gusty winds. Appreciate Tim sending in those pictures and videos. You can send in pictures and videos as well to mymeteomundo@gmail.com. You can also find us across all of our other social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. Okay, so again, this is what Beryl looks like at the hour. We can also look at the visible satellite imagery as well. And again, there is a little bit of drier air coming in, but the core looks relatively intact here. There's some cooler waters just off the Yucatan coast, but in general, Beryl should begin to strengthen here, maybe hold steady for a while, but strengthen. And we're going to get into Beryl in and out coming up in just a second. But I do want to talk about the here and the now here at Meteo Mundo and take a look at what's been a pretty active weather day across our area. If you notice, we don't have 96L anymore. It's gone. It's not going to develop. But it is a wide axis of tropical moisture bringing some pretty good rain and storms to portions of our area. So let's start off with our friends in Jamaica. Obviously, we're still just beginning the recovery efforts from Beryl there. We've had a few scattered showers and storms. As of late, a nice little thunderstorm cropped up over the Cambridge area, moving back south towards St. Elizabeth Parish, so Savannah, Lamar, Westmoreland, and then back down towards Black River and Treasure Bay, some areas that just don't need any more rain. But it's been relatively isolated for today, but not completely dry. It's been much more active weather again for Hispaniola, especially Haiti. These are areas that don't need any more rain, but you can see that moisture axis developing there. We've had a few storms over the DR4 today, but kind of mainly concentrated on the western side of the island. Continue that moisture flare up for portions of Puerto Rico and especially the Virgin Islands. You can see some showers and storms, some good lightning off of the coastal islands for Culebra towards the Vieques, but certainly concentrated St. Thomas, St. John, Tortola, trying to get down towards St. Croix. We've had at least a few scattered showers and storms over the mainland as well, especially the northwest side, Zaguadilla towards Arecibo. And then we follow this over to the Leeward Islands where we've had at least an opportunity for a passing shower, but that would be for about Anguilla and St. Martin and St. Bartholomew. As we go farther to the south, it's been a much more tranquil quiet day. It's been fair skies, it's been dry weather, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, and then you get into the Windward Islands. This area needs to be dried out a bit, obviously, as they continue their recovery efforts from Beryl, and things have been dry there. ABC Islands have been dry again for today. That moisture has moved off towards the west. And then for our friends in Belize and Guatemala and Honduras, not a lot of impacts from Beryl. We obviously kicked up the surf and sea conditions. We do have some moisture trying to spread back into Honduras right now, but generally speaking, no significant impacts whatsoever from Beryl here. Even not a lot of rain for the north side of Belize. Again, all of that was really confined into the Yucatan, the far west coast of Cuba as well. And then our friends in the Bahamas have been enjoying a relatively quiet day. Couple of storms developing over Andros. Can't rule out a drifting shower storm over New Providence and Eleuthera, but again, it's been widely scattered at best. All right, friends, as we get started with all the Beryl information, I appreciate you liking this video. Thank you for all the support lately. Thank you for all of our new subscribers. Please hit that subscribe button now. Share this video with anyone you think you could get something out of it, especially our friends along the Texas coast. Thank you for supporting us here at Meteo Mundo through the membership program, the super thanks, and the other ways that you can find in the description. Okay, now we get into the weeds with Beryl, and there's a lot to talk about here. Again, we do have new hurricane watches that are in effect. We'll look at that. This is the interactive map here of the 5 p.m. advisory. For the short term, Beryl is forecast to remain a tropical storm as it gets out into the open waters, and then as we move into tomorrow as well. Could take a little bit of time here. Again, its structure has certainly been impacted by the friction over land, but we know what has happened over the last several years with storms bombing out or rapidly intensifying just before landfall. And that is a possibility here with Beryl. Now, a couple of things from this track. It has shifted north and has continued to shift to the north over the last 24 hours. And there is more play, there is more wiggle room that this track could go further up the Texas coast, all right? Especially with Beryl emerging north of where it was forecast to emerge from the Yucatan. This is why the entire Texas coastline needs to be paying especially close attention to Beryl over the next couple of days and begin those preparations, those hurricane preparations already. Now, I don't expect there to be this huge shift east of the track because there's an area of high pressure in the southeast United States, northeast Gulf of Mexico, that Beryl is going to have to go up and around. So I don't expect the landfall in Louisiana, but as we get closer to Louisiana, the storm surge threat on the eastern side with all the onshore winds becomes more prevalent. So even Louisiana needs to keep a very close eye out for water inundation. Official forecast has it as a Category 1 hurricane moving close to the Corpus Christi area here on Monday with winds of 90 miles an hour. This would be early Monday afternoon. I want to be clear. There again is going to be more than likely some changes to this. Beryl has only outperformed the intensity of the models throughout its entire life. Possibly and more than likely probably this intensity forecast will go up, especially if Beryl takes a farther north track and is in the open waters of the Gulf a little bit longer and near that shoreline. There looks to be, again, very good and favorable conditions for increased development and potentially rapidly as well. So if we look at the static map from the Hurricane Center, again, you can see those time frames becoming a hurricane again Sunday afternoon and then getting close to the Texas coastline kind of early on Monday. But again, where it actually moves in is going to have a big impact on the timing because the farther north, the timing is going to get pushed back a little bit. But obviously weather going downhill for North Mexico, South Texas late Sunday, and then spreading up the Texas coastline as we go through the remainder of our Monday. Current watches that are in effect. It's a hurricane watch for the Texas coast from the mouth of the Rio Grande north to Sargent. Then for the northeast coast of Mexico from Barra el Mezquital to the Rio Grande. A tropical storm warning is still in effect for the Yucatan west of Cabocatoche to Campeche, but that's going to go away pretty quickly as Beryl also moves away. So we're going to get into the models now. And if we take a look at kind of the initial forecast from Beryl, right, as the area of low pressure, its center moves back into the southwest Gulf of Mexico. Beryl obviously has been impacted by the drier air, and you can see that here in the HAFS model with all this dry air on the southwest side and all the convection and moisture on the northeast side. There's an upper level low that is in North Mexico right now, which is also funneling in that drier air. So there shouldn't be a lot of strengthening in Beryl, at least through Saturday. But as that upper level low moves away, that moisture should be able to wrap back around. And again, more favorable conditions closer to the Texas coastline. Same model. Here's the halves tomorrow. Here's the halves on Monday. We have a fully mature cyclone. Moisture on all sides, a very strong closed area of circulation, the pressure of 971. That would support a hurricane stronger than winds of 90 miles an hour. Okay, so again, you see what the HAFS model does from a weak system to a very mature system here in the span of about 48 hours. This is the loop of that same model, the HAFS model, okay? This is right at the end of it. This is the beginning. Again, a very disorganized system, but the inner core stays intact. And with very little wind shear and high sea surface temperatures, how many times have I sung this song, this year already, but in general, the last several years, where we're going to see the potential intensification and potential rapid intensification of a hurricane as it gets close to the coastline. All right. The European model, which has been pretty much garbage with Beryl throughout its entire journey because it's been way too weak with what Beryl really has become, is actually even stronger. Okay. Has 969 millibar pressure at 5 a.m. on Monday. Notice it's a little bit farther north along the Texas coast. Again, all the Texas coast needs to be paying very close attention to Beryl. One model that has had this kind of forecast for a while, seems to have picked up on it earlier than the other models, is the ICON model. It has had a farther north track and a stronger Beryl for a much longer time, and the other models are coming around to that solution. Now, the ICON is even farther north, okay? It's on the far eastern envelope, if you will, of those spaghetti plot models of all the different models we look at, but it's much closer to Galveston and Houston. Again, more than likely not as far east as Louisiana, but much further up the Texas coastline. Speaking of that, I can show you those spaghetti plots as well, so let me put on those forecast models. Again, right now, the hurricane center is going with what's going to be a relatively clustered area of models, but they continue to shift a little bit farther east or up the Texas coastline. Again, I don't expect a huge shift east with that ridge of high pressure in play, but it's not going to surprise me if there is going to be some changes to, of course, the intensity, but also where this move on shore as well. And of course, that's going to really matter because if we take a look at here, the winds, all right, so let's switch over to the wind product here real quick. Give me just 1 second here. Let's go to our wind vectors. I'm going to bring up the HRRR model, and the HRRR model is a very high resolution model here that we can look at in this part of the world. And more than anything, it just kind of gives our friends in Texas an idea of what the winds might look like as they begin to move onshore and how widespread they could end up being as far as onshore winds, because storm surge is going to be an issue with Beryl, especially if Beryl can almost parallel the coastline for a while and it doesn't really move in. If it just kind of rides the Texas coast, because the Texas coast, especially central and south, is almost oriented north to south. If it rides up that coast on the north end, it's just going to be pushing all this water into all the bays, into all the areas here, the low-lying areas of the Texas coast. And you can see all of that cyclonic circulation, all those north to northeast winds coming in here, and you can see that pushing all of that water even into the western sides of Louisiana. Now again, the HRRR is probably too far south, but I just wanted to show you that overall push of water that could be coming on the north side of the eye. Obviously on the south side, anywhere there, you can have the offshore winds, and the storm surge isn't going to be nearly as potent. So let's look at the initial potential from Beryl, okay? Subject to change and probably will. First of all, hurricane force winds are likely for North Texas and for North Mexico and Texas. Don't want to get any more detailed than that right now. We'll see just how strong Beryl might end up getting. A storm surge of 3 to 5 feet. That is significant, and that encompasses a lot of the potential Texas coastline. Rainfall could also be significant as well. Apology for the misspelling. 5 to 10 inches of rain, locally up to 15. It's not a Harvey, but Beryl should slow down as it moves inland, and that could produce some heavy rain areas, 12 to 15 inches. That could lead to flash and urban flooding, large swells, dangerous surf, and rip currents all come around for the ride as well. This is the forecast from the Hurricane Center of the peak storm surge. Right now, they're going with that same area that the hurricane watch is in. from Sargent to the mouth of the Rio Grande, 2 to 4 up to Baffin Bay, and then 3 to 5 as far north as Sargent, including Matagorda Bay and Corpus Christi Bay as well at 3 to 5. Now again, if Beryl goes farther north, these storm surge forecasts will be pushed farther north, and I'm not going to be surprised at all if that happens, okay? So friends, that is the latest on Beryl. Obviously, the waves are going to be coming along for the ride as well. You can see that. You can see the push of water there. It's all going to be kind of that east to southeast wind. There's going to be another little slug of some heftier seas going back into portions of the western side of the Caribbean and even the western Atlantic, where we're going to have some swells across the eastern side of the Bahamas as well. All right, friends, that is all of the newest information on Beryl. Obviously, I'm going to keep a very close eye on things there. Let's talk about the forecast overall across our area over the next 5 days. And as I load that up, if you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, click that like button for me right now. I'd absolutely appreciate it. Again, subscribe if you haven't become a subscriber. You know I'm going to keep you updated on Beryl and everything going on across the Caribbean and the Bahamas over the next several days. So again, we've gotten into the weeds here with Beryl, and we're going to be keeping a really close eye on it, and I'll have updates throughout the weekend. Other areas that should watch out for the potential for some heavy rain include, again, some of the same areas that Beryl have impacted significantly. Again, although 96L is not going to develop, it is a very wide swath and elongated area of tropical moisture, and more rain will be moving back in the next couple of days to Jamaica, to the Cayman Islands, to the Yucatan, to portions of Central America. Should at least be some forward speed with this, all right? It shouldn't be sticking around forever. But again, the opportunity here to catch some more rain in these areas. The Bahamas, we'll see a few daytime showers in the afternoon with the heat of the day, but nothing that's going to be very concentrated. So again, we'll be drying out in these areas. It'll be hot. It'll be humid in the afternoon hours here. Temperatures will try and sneak into the 90s in some spots. We can see a couple of showers in the Turks, the Caicos. Not expecting a lot of rain there for those areas. Bermuda misses a little bit of rain off towards the south here. Just a little bit of tropical moisture here. Nothing that's going to try and develop. In general, our areas east will be a little bit drier. We will see a few more showers and storms the next couple of afternoons in the Dominican Republic and Haiti. But as we get into the mid part of next week, I do expect it to become more isolated. And that's going to be the forecast for Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and the Lesser Antilles in general. There is not a significant tropical wave, at least over the next 5 days. And let me say this, in this environment, when I pull back out here and show you the satellite imagery in this environment, that is as far as I want to get. We do have another tropical wave down here that I will be watching, which again, you know, based on what Beryl has done, does that mean that there's an opportunity that something could get going there? Sure. But it's something to watch out for in the future. There's no invest, there's no discussion from the Hurricane Center, but again, this is the main development region of the Atlantic to watch out for. Okay, friends, so again, watching Beryl in the western Gulf of Mexico, showers and storms across the area. I'll continue to provide you updates. Again, thank you for liking and subscribing. You guys have a great rest of your Friday, and I'll see you tomorrow right here at Meteo Mundo. Check.